All right, so the latest fitness trend that seems to be trending is cozy cardio. What is it? Well, this is when you go real easy and just move. Get on some sweats, get some hot cocoa, some coffee, and walk slowly on a treadmill. Is this valuable? Yes, absolutely. Activity is good for you, and this tends to bring more people to fitness. The average person, when you introduce them to fitness and you beat the crap out of them, doesn't necessarily give them a good experience. And again, the bottom line is you just got to move more. Now, it's not going to give you maximum endurance. You're not going to build great performance doing this, and that's totally fine. Most people don't care about becoming athletes. They just want to improve their health. So for most of you, this is a good idea. Just move a little bit.
It's about time.
I love this tip. And the reason why I like this is when I was competing, like one of the most trendy, popular things to do, and I believe it's still very popular in the bodybuilding space, is fasted cardio.
Yeah.
And I remember when this is actually how I found Lane Norton way back in the day. And basically he was debunking fasted cardio.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time I had already adopted it. I'd already been doing it for quite some time. And obviously Lane
This was a standard in bodybuilding.
Right. This is what you do. This is part of prep. And when you get ready for the, heading into, before peak week, you start leaning out, you get up an hour early and you walk on the treadmill or you do low level cardio, right? Or lists, right?
Before you eat,
right? First thing in the morning. And I had already been doing this, having great success with it. And then I find Lane, and Lane basically debunks the kind of bro science that was around it. And Lane always does a great job of actually explaining the science, and right away it made sense to me. And I'm like, oh, of course, that's not how it works, right? But at the same time, I had recognized the value that I'd seen it with my own eyes, the difference that it had made in my journey. Now, then what I realized, and after understanding the science and how the whole fasted cardio is a myth, was, well, when I had to do this, I got up an hour earlier than what I would normally would.
And moved more.
Yeah. So typically what would happen is, on a normal day, I wake up at 7:00 and get showered, have breakfast, start my day, and then basically start my day. And a lot of times that means going to work or doing something that's not training or physical. Where when I was in fasted cardio mode, I set my alarm at 6 a.m. and I literally would just throw on some pajamas, sweats, like crust in my eyes still, because I didn't have to do anything intense. I just needed to move. I had to get on the cardio and I needed to move, and I would do this in this fastest state. And I'd see these great results, and I'd be like, well, I think what that did was not only did it get up and make me move earlier and burn calories that I would have been sleeping, more calories than I would have from sleeping, but I also noticed starting the day off with activity like that also promoted more activity throughout the day, because I was awake. And you notice this, I'm sure you do, because you're a early morning guy, right? Like if you work out in the morning, it sets the tone for you. 6, 7 in the morning, you're popping around, you're moving, you're not like, whereas right now, I don't train early in the morning. And so, here it is, 11 a.m. I'm barely starting to wake up. I'm on my second coffee right now. And I really haven't moved a lot. And so I really saw tremendous value in giving this tip or advice to clients that were trying to reduce body fat. I just think that we have presented it in the wrong way in the bodybuilding community.
Yeah. So two things, right? Trying to move more to get leaner. It is a strategy. It can be a bit of a self-defeating strategy because the body tends to adapt pretty well, but that doesn't mean there's no benefits to moving. You're just healthier. It's just better for you to move than it is to not move. In fact, if you look at the studies on the detrimental effects of sitting all day long, it's
it's the worst.
Terribly unhealthy. So just moving is a good thing. And as an early trainer, I remember scoffing at the idea of this kind of stuff, right? If I asked a potential client, what do you do for exercise? Like, I like to go on walks. But, well, that's not working out. You got to really sweat and it's got to be really hard. Otherwise it doesn't count. Well, no, that's not true at all. And I was terribly misinformed. And I was misinforming those people myself by making that point. Moving is just good for you. And it's definitely good for you than not moving. And oftentimes we talk people out of moving because we tell them it's a waste of time unless you're beating yourself up. Now, again, you want to build a lot of endurance and stamina. You want athletic performance. Well, then just walking at a slow pace isn't going to really do that, except for maybe help facilitate recovery and improve your health in other ways, maybe indirectly. But it's not like this way of really boosting athletic performance. So that's why I think sometimes people look at it and go, it's a waste of time. No. From a health perspective, it's just good for you. Now, can it benefit muscle building? Can it benefit fat loss? Can it benefit those things that people tend to be interested in? Well, if it improves your health, then yes, it can. Then yes, it absolutely can. If it makes you healthier, then consider a healthier body tends to adapt to stress better than an unhealthy body. And exercise, the type of results that we're looking from exercise, from fat loss to strength gain to muscle gain, is all a stress response and adaptation. So this is great. And you know what else I like about this is that anybody can do it. It tends to be recuperative. So even if I'm talking to a fitness fanatic who runs the risk of overtraining, this doesn't tend to put them in overtraining. The total beginner who's deconditioned, well, this is appropriate because it's very easy. There's not a lot of skill involved, which is a good thing because a lot of times what gets in the way of people exercising properly is that they don't have the skill. Yeah. So if I take somebody's deconditioned, make them run, and they haven't run in years and years and years, well, the risk of injury goes through the roof because the running mechanics are all over the place. Whereas you tell them to walk at a comfortable pace, most people could still do that reasonably well. We're not in the world of Wall-E yet, thankfully. So this is a great message. It's a great message. And when you read the comments of people who are adopting this, they're like, oh my God, my whole mindset was shifted and now I can be consistent. And, as trainers and coaches, we know that it's all about behavior change. It's all about behavior change. And this is a great way to do that.
It's just funny. Like the term just immediately gives me this picture of like when my dad used to put on a robe and it was too short. And he'd be downstairs just like, doing his little cozy cardio.
What?
Imagine if he was doing like
horrible visual.
Mobile,
Thanks,
like,
bro.
if he was doing mobility drills, he's just,
oh my
God. The thing's falling out.
I think right away too, what's the classic movie that I'm thinking of right now where he's in the robe?
It's
The
gonna
Big
be like a
Lebowski.
Chevy Chase.
No, the Big
Oh,
Lebowski.
it just works the whole time.
The Big Lebowski, right? For sure.
Listen,
that
guys,
is a total move.
if you buy a robe, make sure it's long.
Long enough.
One of the other points you're making, Sal, too, is like not just doing it for these benefits of calorie burn, because that's kind of I think a short or a quick way to a plateau, right?
Yeah,
of like chasing calories this way. But I think the influencer that kickstarted this or made it popular, I think the one of the other desired outcomes of it was that you put your favorite podcast on, or you read a book,
that's
or
smart.
So work on mindfulness. So I think there's a lot of value also there of like, man, you have this early in the morning when a lot of people are still sleeping, it's quiet, and you can you listen to a podcast or read a book or just be in silence and quiet and in your thoughts, and just the value of that too.
Yeah, the input. I mean, you get first like sunlight too, which we've talked about a few times, but I've actually put that into practice quite a bit. And haven't really used my own deck that's like outside of our room as much. But then I just started like, hey, when I wake up, I'm going to open the doors. I'm just going to step out and like get as much, open my eyes as wide as I can and try and look far and like, really, get as much exposure to that first light. It's a weird thing, but I try to combo that with, the caffeine and all these things to kind of get me charged up, ready to go for the day. And it's made a difference.
Well, and the other thing too is, look, we've learned this, training lots of everyday people. One of the keys to getting somebody, and if you're listening and you're not a trainer, this is for you too. If you're finding it challenging to develop long-term consistency with exercise, well, one of the big keys, there's this crazy myth out there that it has to be super unenjoyable. You have to hate every minute.
Right.
That it has to be grueling and beat the crap out of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to enjoy it, because then you're more likely to do it, okay? And cozy cardio, or whatever you want to call it, like you said, Adam, listening to a book or a podcast, or something that you're enjoy, combine it with something you enjoy doing, maybe walking with your spouse, and it's not so vigorous and hard that you're hating it. Like a lot of people would enjoy that. A lot of people would enjoy a 30-minute stroll where they're listening to their favorite book, or they're listening to a podcast, or they're watching something, or maybe just meditating while they're doing it. A lot of people would find that pleasurable. Do you know the value in being able to find pleasure in activity? It's tremendous value, because you're far more likely to be consistent. Because the biggest challenge that people have with exercise is not the proper form. That's important, but that's not the biggest problem. Or which form of exercise, that's important, but that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is consistency.
Yeah.
How do we get people to do this, or how can you get yourself to want to do this on a regular basis? Well, step one is find a way to enjoy what you're doing. So when people would ask me, what's the best form of exercise for me? Before I'd give them the answer, I would always ask them this question first.
Which one are you most likely?
Which one do you enjoy the most?
Yep.
And then we'll start from there. Because if you absolutely hate the most effective form of exercise, it is now the least effective form of exercise because you simply don't do it.
It's so true.
Today's giveaway on YouTube is MAPS Anabolic Advanced. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and also turn on notifications. Do all of those things, and then if you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, this month's sale, MAPS Split 50% off. And the Sexy Athlete Bundle of Programs, also 50% off. If you're interested, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show. Anyway, I got to ask you this, Adam, because I forgot that you went to, because we had the 4th of July weekend, you went to Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And now, was this the first? I want to know what your experience was with Max. Was this his first time in a big theme park like that?
Yeah. This was our first. I mean, he's done Gilroy Gardens, but I don't.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't feel like that really counts either. It's like
not like Universal Studios.
No, it's not. It's not Disneyland. It's not Universal Studios. It's not Six Flags. It's not like that, right? And by the way, I haven't been to Universal Studios in like 25 years.
Bro, it's
changed a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's like so different than what it was when I was there.
Super high tech and just
yeah, super cool. We also we decided to do what we were planning on driving Highway 1. So originally we had flights to fly down there, and then I kind of surprised Katrina last minute, and we decided that, hey, we're going to do a road trip, and we're going to take Highway 1 all the way down to LA and split it in half. We stopped in San Luis Obispo and spent the night, and then we went the rest of the way there. So that was an adventure in itself. But Max was he was good. He was much better than what I thought he was going to be. I was really nervous that he was going to get there, and it's, by the way, too expensive as fuck.
Oh,
Dude,
bro,
these theme parks are out of control.
Out of control.
Oh, it's it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, this was a really what I didn't even anticipate to be a really expensive trip. It was a very expensive trip that I didn't realize was going to be like that. And it could get more if we did some of the other things that we didn't do. Anyways, I was really nervous that we were going to do this, right? We got my friends and his kids to come, and then my son was going to be the kid who didn't want to get on the rides or do anything. So
Universal rides they're big. They're like big boy rides.
Yeah, they're like
scary.
They're herky jerky, and they have
lots of special effects, and they're scary.
That's why I was really nervous about it. Now, what was great was we were really going there for Super Nintendo Land. Or Super Nintendo World, like that new attraction at Universal.
He's a big Mario fan.
Yeah, Max is you guys know, diehard Bowser and Mario fan, and so I also anticipated we may never leave that part of the park, right? So I was like,
which is fine. That's for him.
Yeah, right. So we went there, and we paid this extra fee, so you get in the park an hour early, which was a funny experience as itself too, because actually I was under the impression that it was 2 hours early. But an hour of that is just the process of getting you behind gate 1 to gate 2 to gate 3 to eventually into the land. Wow. Yeah, they would 15 minutes go by, and then they let you to the next section.
Really?
And then it was really weird. And then it was like, then you basically had 1 hour to get there. But we rushed right into Mario Land. We do the first ride, which is the virtual one right away. And he, that's the one where you have to put I don't know if you guys seen these, but they put the goggles on, and it's half, augmented reality and a ride, and you can like shoot things and do stuff from the seat, and it's a lot. It's loud. It's going, and so there's a couple parts. He's sitting next to me, and I'll show you guys some of the videos and stuff of him, and he's kind of doing it, but then there would be parts that be scary, and then I just see him do this.
Oh, poor kid.
Yeah, and it was like, my heart, dude, is like inside. It's such a weird feeling for me, right? It's so different than anything I've ever experienced before. Seeing your son, go through something like that, where you could tell he's scared, but he's trying to be brave. Like he's not making a big deal about it. But then I can see that
because he's with dad.
I know
he wants you to think.
I know, and so
pushing through.
And so I'm talking to him through the whole thing. Oh, good job, buddy. Like trying to like encourage. And you know, he doesn't cry. He doesn't get scared. He does it. But he's just like, do you want to do that again? No, I'm good. I'm good. And so, yeah, definitely. Like, so I know it was tough. And then they had this thing in Mario or in Super Nintendo world that I thought was really interesting. And I haven't wrapped my brain around why they do this. So they have this thing where you have to get 3 keys to unlock access to another part of the world. Like if you want to go into Bowser's castle, you need to go get 3 magic keys.
So you go on like little adventures?
Well, so you have to go through these games that you have to play and win the key. And they're like challenges. They're pretty easy for the most part, but some of them are more difficult than others. Well, we're on going to get second key, and we're in this long line to get there. And basically, it's like there's a Goomba running on like a log, and you're supposed to spin this thing and make the Goomba fall off the log, and then you get the key, right? But it's like this big crank, and they tell you when you get up there as a parent with your kid, they say you can either do it for him, or he has to do it on his own. You cannot assist him. So if he has a hard time,
one person only.
Like
one
both.
person only. No both. And so I asked him, I said, do you want daddy to do it or do you want to? I can do it. And so, okay. But I knew this was going to be hard already. I could tell by just the size of it. It was like so big. And I saw other kids bigger than him struggling to do it. So I'm like, oh, fuck, this is not going to be good. And he cranked on it. Got it the second time around, and then the thing boom, 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 and then he doesn't get, and you have to wait in line and do it all over again. If you don't get a key for trying, like you have to get it, and I just saw his soul leave his body, dude, just devastated, and I'm like, and so inside I'm like all devastated, and you know, and then he just wants to put his face in my neck and cry, and I'm like, oh my god, dude, my son's like bawling right now over this. Like it's okay, buddy, you gave your bet, it's all right. But he's just totally devastated, and I'm like, this whole thing for me, or this period of our life or journey in parenting for me this is such an interesting, you know, dichotomy that I'm in with him and my wife and my son, like her and I being these like go-getter, overcome adversity, you know, athletic type of personality. And then we have our son who is just like this super sweetheart kid and it struggles. And when he struggles, he breaks down.
I got a video to send you, dude. I just so weird you're saying this. I watched this video by this Dr. Becky is her name. I've showed you stuff from her before. But she talks
about her forgiveness one.
So she did. There's this whole podcast she was on, and she talks about when kids come to you with a feeling. So your kid, you know, drops her ice cream or whatever. And you're like, I'll get you another one. Not a big deal type of deal, right? And she says, what happens when you do something like that, rather than, because what they feel. Right. There's nothing you could do that'll make them not feel what they're feeling. Right. If you dismiss it, they will interpret it as
bad or
this
wrong.
Is not a good feeling.
Right.
Or it's too overwhelming for my dad and my mom even. Right. So I have to ignore this feeling. So she says what you do is you either guess what they're feeling, like, oh, you must be so disappointed. Yeah. You must be so crushed, whatever. Or you ask. It lets them feel it, and then it gives them the ability to then come out and say, and it's weird when you do it. When you do it, because kids freak out over, I mean, we all know this. And as adults, it's funny too, because I reflected on myself, how many times I freak out over stupid shit. But your kid does this and you say this to them and you're like, oh, you must be so upset that your Lego thing fell. And then you let them do the thing and then they'll be like, I'll just make another one. They'll get to the thing themselves. It's a great video. I got to send it to you.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard because
that's the hard part is like, so, and I think this is where kind of we're at. Like, I feel like I know the right approach. It's actually doing it.
Of course.
In the moment.
I know.
Because you have this inner struggle. So what I told
Plus what motivates you now as a man, like something happened to you, you know, if you, this is funny too. If you did some shit and you got upset about it and they come up to you and I'm like, oh, Adam, you must be so devastated.
Right.
Be like, get the hell off me, dude.
It's not what I need.
You want to hear from me as I get up, bro. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know. I'm the
so you wrestle with this. The thing I took, because Katrina was actually, you know, her and I spent the day by ourselves yesterday. And so we were actually reflecting on the whole weekend with him and stuff. And she's like, man, I don't know what it is with you, but you're so patient right now. And I think it's maybe what she went through and stuff like that. I think that's changed a lot of things for us and the dynamic of our family and stuff like that. But I told her, I said, you know, in moments like that, I've gotten better about reminding myself the beautiful side of that personality of him too.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like the fact that it was even a thought or an option for us to drive 6 hours with a kid on Highway 1, the long route to a destination that he really wants to go to. Dude, you know, my son, like literally just fell asleep for an hour and a half in the front seat. I listened to my music, the engine screaming loud, like top down sometimes, wind blowing, and he just hung out, bro. Hung out for 6 hours. Never asked.
He's really good at being present.
Never asked me, Daddy, when we there, never complained, never. And I'm like, and then I have my best friend's son who is like a wild child. We can't even drive 2 minutes at the block without him asking me 1,000 questions. And like, and I'm going like, there's no way I can.
I'll have you babysit my
I could never ride with that
Let me
kid.
have you watch my son.
Yeah.
Bro.
And I'm like, and you know, and of course his son is the one who's like scoring 6 soccer goals and he's like doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, so I understand that that's what kind of comes with that. And I go, and I have to remind myself like how much I love the fact that I could do that with my boy. The fact that my boy can get in my car, can drive 6 hours, you know, and just
be happy to
be happy and peaceful and let me listen to my music.
That's
and
great.
even drive in silence. Like we didn't even talk for a long period of time, like just hanging out. Like I just,
Meanwhile, my 3-year-old is I don't know what we're gonna do, dude. We're really struggling over this. Jessica snapped over the weekend. It's not like her to snap like this, where she threw away. Sorry, honey, if I'm gonna tell the story. She threw away his big ass garbage truck. She got so mad.
like as a punishment,
Like threw it away.
throw in the trash.
For real. Not like I'm gonna give it back to you. Like in the garbage, gone.
Wow.
Okay.
He must have been really
Bro,
bad
he's been
or
doing
something.
this thing where he'll be like, he'll just get upset for whatever reason. It's like, I want to punch someone in the face. Well, no, you can't do that. And he'll
He
go up
says
and-
that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then he'll go up and hit somebody. You know, we have my niece staying with us, and you'll walk up to her, and then you'll try to like, she's on her iPad, and he'll like mess with her while she's doing something. And she'll be like, "Oh, hey, can you not touch that?" You know, be like, "You're a bad person." Then he'll hit her, or he'll spin on her, or he'll throw something.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
bro.
dude. And it's like, I came home. I don't remember what, I went to the gym. I come home, and Jessica's like, he was upset. I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, I threw his garbage truck away. I'm like, wait, like, you're going to go get it afterwards or whatever? She's like, no, it's gone forever. I told him, and that's it. Now I have to do it. And I wanted to tell her, like, maybe we should, but I'm like, she's upset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't you do that, or your shit will be in the trash.
She's like, I gotta get
one of those.
She's like, I don't know what to do. I need to beat
Always
this
give
out.
yourself an out. Yeah.
Oh my
Don't make
God,
it
dude.
definitive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, bro. So
Oh my God.
kids are fun.
I mean, that's the point, right? Is that, you know, that's my challenge, right?
Yeah.
And so I have to embrace that. And I think I'm getting better at when those moments present themselves of not losing my cool, not getting overly frustrated, just embracing the moment, letting him feel his feelings, work through them, be patient with them. But because I do love and adore the other side that comes with that. I mean, the fact that he's just so chill and easygoing and like, I mean, that's part of what makes him not so aggressive and determined. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay.
Well, I'm glad Max wasn't hanging out with us over the weekend, dude. It was like the most unregulated, like wild, like environment I could ever, and amazing, but also too, like it challenged me on that level of like, it's going to be okay. I can allow them to kind of be independent in their interactions, you know, with these other kids. And then also too, like explosive stuff and guns. And,
This is Coeur d'Alene, right? This is Coeur d'Alene.
Like this was like Americana and it's like, you know, frontier days, you know, like it was very wild. And I was like, wow, like it was refreshing. And then it was also like, you know, at times I was like, oh, I don't know if I can handle
A little much.
this. Yeah, it was a little much. I've never done like the big, huge fireworks, lighting them off myself. I've always watched people do it and like enjoyed it. But
I saw the video. I mean, it's actually firing off
Yeah, we did like
rockets.
mortars and everything too. Not just like the ones I showed, like the sparkling,
That's so great.
crazy like boxes like you do there. Like, so we went and went ham at this like reservation that was close by and bought like a bunch of these like mega fireworks that were dangerous, dude. And we had one that didn't go up all the way up, you know, because the mortar like sort of was loose, and so we had to screw it back into this platform. But before that, it like kind of
Like
tilted a
jerry-rig a
little bit,
firework?
and then it just came up and exploded halfway through, and like embers were just flying. I had some fly on my head and like burned my hat, and like we're running like and it was like chaos. But I was just like, my
I'm sure that
people.
I bet the boys were just eating it up.
They were loving it, but that's where I was like, because then my
like almost too much.
yeah, like I was like,
Calm
my
down.
protective side started getting like kick in, and I'm like, okay, you guys stay over here, you know, like, don't do, those kids are crazy, stay away from them, you know. And like, you know, they go out fishing and nobody's like licensed, you know. I don't mean to throw them under the bus or anything, but there's no like regulation with that. They're pulling fish out of the lake, and I mean, it was so much fun. It was just like, it's interesting because it's like such a culture shock, you know, coming from here to there, and the difference between. And so it's like, I mean, I could get used to it, but also too, there was like part of my, like, okay, well, let's like be a little more reasonable about this. This is a little wild, like too wild, you know? So, but it was fun.
There's a middle ground.
There's definitely a middle ground to achieve.
So at Universal, there's a ride there that I don't remember, but it's the Simpsons. It has to be one of the longest standing rides there. It's super old. I mean, there's like cigarette butts in the corner and stuff like that. But we're in the line for this. And one of the things that Universal does really well is they section the lines. So it's like, even though you got a 45-minute wait, you have these like 15-minute sections where you're being entertained.
Yeah.
So they do a really good job of that. And the Simpsons, one of the sections you get to is like, there's like the cartoons on video. It's like we're sitting there in line, and this is late at night. It's actually the last ride we're doing. We're kind of tired. We haven't done this one yet, and we're just kind of sitting there as parents, like waiting for the day to end because we're all exhausted. You can tell. And the thing's going, and Justin, my best friend, looks over to me and he's just like. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm listening right now. And there's like Marge Simpson is found all these pills and she crushes them up and then she drinks them, smoking cigarettes. Like the crazy clown is like an assassin with his pointing a .45 gun at like, and I'm just like, boy, this is a little crazy for a bunch of kids to be watching this. Like
That show's always been borderline.
Right. It's already like that. I thought that was
like a
really
kid show.
interesting that like they chose like all this like of all the like segments that they decided to put for the ride. It's like, wow, they have this edgy clown who's, you know, threatening to kill everybody with a .45. You got Marge Simpson grinding up a bunch of opiates and drinking them like a slushy. Like you smoking cigarettes. I'm like, boy, they couldn't have picked a like edgier section for these kids. I couldn't believe that.
We went to over here at Almaden Lake, which is one of the few places in the Bay Area that'll do like fireworks. It was so crowded and so packed. Yeah, and I told my wife, she's like, "Oh, I want to take my niece to see fireworks." I'm like, and I want to bring, you know, our 3-year-old. I said, "Honey, it's gonna be packed. Dude. You're not gonna like it. It's gonna be crazy. You're probably not gonna like it." She's like, "No, we got to see it. We got to see it." I'm like, "All right, fine." Of course, we get there and it's literally just so many people, couldn't find parking. We get in there and it's just insane. My wife's like, "This is the last time I do this." But we were there, and of course, and, you know, and speaking of my 3-year-old, he's there and he goes to bed at 7, right? They don't shoot him off till like 9:30.
Right.
So it's 2 hours past, dude, and he's getting wild. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny how when it gets past their bedtime, they almost hit like this new adrenaline rush? Or they almost like they know
running on adrenaline.
They know that they're supposed to be in bed and they're not in bed right now.
Oh, he's just like, "I'm gonna throw a rock at someone." I'm like, "No, buddy, you're not gonna throw a rock at someone."
He says some crazy shit right now, bro.
I don't even say half of it.
Where does that? How does he?
Do you have a little punching bag for him? Like,
I'm thinking about doing something.
You got
like
to,
that.
bro.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about something.
I don't know. Do you promote
kids
that?
I don't know where
you
he
go the
gets it.
opposite
No,
direction
dude.
and you go meditation and like fucking
He needs to get it
kumbaya
out,
shit.
dude.
I don't know where he gets that from. He's also on the other side. He's also super affectionate, loving, but he'll just come up to you and be like, "I want to punch so and so in the face," or "I want to, you know, whatever." Or I'm just like, "No, don't do that."
Yeah.
What are you talking about? "I want to watch TV." "No, you can't watch TV." "Well, I'm going to break the TV." "No, you're not going to break the TV, buddy." But anyway, it turned out to be it turned out to be a good time. But afterwards, there was a fire in the foothills.
Oh, no.
Right? Yeah, dude.
From the fireworks or from someone doing fireworks?
It wasn't from the fireworks that they did at the lake, but somewhere else. So we're walking back to the car, and I turn and I look back, and like there was like a giant fire in the freaking foothills. I talked to one of our editors. He said he was relatively close by, saw the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, speaking of my 3-year-old, I got to tell you guys, it's hilarious. So I had the 2 little ones on my own for a little while on, I don't remember what day it was, Thursday or Saturday. And we were hanging out, and I took them upstairs with me to my bedroom. And upstairs in our room, you've seen our setup, where we have the big Juve panel.
Yeah, mounted.
And I mounted it on the wall.
Yeah, I need to do that.
It's perfect.
I like how you guys did that.
And so we were in there, and I'm trying to keep the kids entertained because I was trying to change into some shorts and do something else. I think I was making the bed. So I said, hey, you guys, you want to see some red light? And, my son goes, why? Why red light? I said, this is special red light. So I'm explaining to him, I love
magical powers.
He loves understanding how things work. Even though he doesn't understand what I'm saying, half the time I'll tell him. I'll tell him.
Yeah.
I said the red light comes off here. It's a type of radiation. Yeah. What's radiation? Explain that. And it goes into your mitochondria. What's mitochondria? Yeah. This is what gives your cells energy. Will this give me energy? I said, yes. Will this make me faster? Potentially. Will this make me stronger? It can definitely make you stronger. So what do I do? I said, I'm going to turn it on, and then you just stand in front of it. So I turn it on, and then I'm making the bed or whatever. And then
he's like this.
He's like, charging. He's standing in front of my daughter's behind him playing. My 1-year-old's playing. Whatever.
Starting to feel it.
Yeah, I don't know. So then I turn it off, and then he's just like, am I faster? I'm like, you're way faster. Then he sets up toys on the floor, and he goes, watch this. And he like jumps over one. And I'm like, then he puts another one on top of it. He jumps over that one. Then he falls. At one point, he jumps over and he falls down. And he hates, if he gets hurt, he does not like to be acknowledged that he's physically hurt.
Right. You got to play.
He gets hurt. He's like, oh. And I'm like, are you okay? I'm fine. He gets up. I'm okay. You see like a little tear come down. I'm like, okay, I'm sure you're not okay, but whatever, buddy. Whatever. But he likes it. He likes me explaining it to him. So then, Jessica comes home and he's like, Mom, I got the red light and now I can run fast. She's like, what? Like, it was the Juve. It was the Juve light.
He's going to believe that forever too.
For sure.
Some of those things you believe as a kid, I swear they still just stick with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm
still scared of going upstairs.
Because of the monsters?
Yeah. They're going to grab my legs.
I mean, there's some truth to that. It's not like you're like,
I was telling him the truth.
Yeah,
I was educating him on how the red light fuels mitochondria, what the mitochondria do for your cells, and why do you have it? Mom uses it for her skin, and sometimes I use it to help me recover from hard workouts, and we're doing the whole thing. Then he was asking me about proteins and then carbs. I was talking about glucose and how you need to, if you move afterwards, it comes. He's so into it that I have to be very careful because I could see him going too far. Like, I'm like, he's going to be a little fanatic. I got to be careful with how I communicate.
Right.
Because then what he does is I tell him, I'll say, what I say to him, we went on a walk after dinner. And he goes, I don't want to walk. This is what he does. We're going on a walk. And he goes, this is boring. I'm getting out. Tries to jump out of the stroller, right? So I'm like, I got to convince him. Yeah,
you have like a Tasmanian devil at home, bro.
Literally what it says, this is boring. And he like starts to jump out while I'm walking. So I pull him back in and I'm like, no, you know why we're walking afterwards? So the one way to get him is to tell him stories or get him involved. And so I'm like, we're walking because after you eat, if you move, then you take glucose and it puts it in your muscles. And so we start talking about that whole thing. And so now he's like, now he wants to walk after he eats. Because I got to be careful with all that stuff.
Oh my God. That's got to be an interesting thing for you to juggle, right? Like I think of the challenge that I'm having right now. And you being such a consistent fitness fanatic and obviously loving to see your son doing push-ups and intrigued by it, but then also going like, okay, I don't know
if I go too far.
Right. If he's got me in him and I know how I can be a bit obsessive.
Dude's dude, man. Wow. He's all boy energy, dude.
And he does a lot. He knows if something's inappropriate, he figures it out and then he says it to get a reaction.
Just gotta put him to work, man. I mean, that's the only way.
Well,
to do it.
he's got to run. I got to run him. It's like I'm talking about athletic dog or something,
dude.
And then my daughter, she picks up on it. My 1-year-old picks up on it. So now what she does is she picks up big toys and she walks over to me while she's holding it. Papa. She wants me to see she's lifting it. Oh, wow, you're strong. And then she's like, goes and picks something else up. Like, what's going on here? What's happening? What have I done?
So what I know that Aurelius is big time into garbage and dump truck stuff. Like, is there anything else that like you're in a new phase right now of like the things that whether he's reading or he's really into? I know the garbage truck is a big thing for sure.
He likes cars, trucks, fast cars. He's pretty good at pointing them out. So for walking, he'll say, "Oh, look, it's a fast car," so he knows what they look like.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
For some reason, he likes Porsches. That's like his favorite now.
Oh,
yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, you got to talk to your uncle Adam about that." yeah. He's always like,
engineering.
Yeah, and he'll be like, if we see a car, he'll be like, "That's a fast car. Is it faster than a Porsche?" We're like, well, not quite.
That's great.
Porsche's faster than
that's great.
He likes that. He likes superhero stuff. So if we talk about like different kinds of superheroes and how they became superheroes, and I mean it's fun stuff for me because that's the stuff I liked when I was a kid. But yeah, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like because obviously this is almost like a second round for you, right? Because you had the two, and then you're going through it. Like, does it bring you back to all the other ones and like remembering phases that they went through? And is like, do you anticipate that this like the stuff he's into is just a phase and then he'll go into another phase, or can you say like, oh, this is going to be part of him forever?
I don't know. It's hard to say because a lot of kids, you see certain characteristics. I don't know. It's my experience. You see certain characteristics that stay with them, but kids change so much. Like I think of my siblings, for example, my sister was such a shy kid, and then she ended up growing up and being like the most brave person ever. I don't know if she ever got over shyness. I think she just decided she's going to just do shit anyway. Yeah. So she became, I would have never guessed that my sister
built tremendous confidence in
would have been this person who put herself out there because she was so shy. I don't know. So yeah.
Your boys, I feel like Ethan, especially in the last like year, I feel like he's completely shifted. Have you seen that in his personality too? Or is like he's just maturing? He's like obviously going through that phase of his life.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch because his body is completely changed. Like he's starting to really kind of stretch out. So he's got the long giraffe arms, and he's got the more mature features of his face, and his hair and everything's really long. And it's like, who is this? It's like a little
not a kid
man. And so it's. That I think that part of it, because he still kind of has a little bit of kid energy in him. Like he'll like hanging out with the cousins and stuff. You could see him playing and like doing stuff like that. But then he wants to be like, respected and like, have these opinions. And he's constantly, like I had mentioned probably a while back on the podcast, that he started to kind of like, come at me a little bit with my ideas or like try to challenge me. Like he's in that sort of phase of like always trying to like counter me a little bit on ideas and things that I want to do with the family. Is like, and so he's kind of like carving his own independence, but what he's into now, it's interesting. He's really into culinary stuff and like creating things with in the kitchen, and like he gets a lot of inspiration with Courtney's kind of shows him all these things, and then he watches videos and just takes it upon himself to create. I never would have thought that. It's like he's just super into it. I'm like, oh wow, okay, like that's a cool trait. Like a lot of people appreciate that.
How do you navigate the challenging your ideas and challenging what you want to do with the family, because I know obviously there's a part of you that wants to promote his independence and him as an individual and his own ideas. At the same time too, I'm dad, I fucking run the show still. Right. So how do you balance the two of those?
When it's so I kind of and I've been thinking about that, like if I'm doing it the right way, if I'm not, like I kind of wrestle with it. But really, I'm trying to look at his intent when he does it more than anything. Like if he's trying to be cheeky, but he just doesn't really know how to like deliver it correctly, or if he is really trying to kind of assert himself and be in opposition to me. Yeah, and that's when I come hard. And I've we've gotten a little bit of confrontation. To reestablish that fact that like you're under my house and
Oh wow, he's challenged that much with you.
Well, he's supposed to. He's a teenager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he has, but it's not like really serious in terms of
Do you have a look or a thing you say like when he's reached that like is there something that you do consistently where it's like you allow that like space a little bit for him to be that way, and then there's a like no. This is one of those times where you stop right where you're at. You know, like do you do that?
Yeah, well, I guess my sort of protocol, and I've tried to train this in myself, is to just be really slow in my response. And so that allows me enough time to calm my heart rate down, because sometimes he'll say something, I'm like, and I'll be quick to fly off the handle. But so I I've been pretty disciplined about that, because sometimes it'll get me, and then I'll wait, and then I'm like, is that how you really feel? Like, do you really want to go down this road?
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
And I'll give him this kind of look. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
And then, and then he'll either reevaluate it, be like, he's like, no, never mind. And it'll dissipate, like for the most part. Sometimes he's just like, no, like I really want to do this. And like, and so we'll go down the logic train. So he's pretty, if I can show him that there's logic behind the reasoning of why I don't want him to do something, or why the rest of us are affected by him wanting to go in this direction, he's usually pretty cool about like changing his idea. It has to take a longer conversation than I would have had, with my parents, where I just would have been like, no, I said no. And that's the end of the story.
Which for somebody with a rebellious streak, which all of us in this room have, like that can make it worse.
Totally.
Yeah. It can make you go so far.
I mean, I think that's the
just to assert yourself.
I really think that's the answer. I mean, I shared with you guys. I think I shared on the podcast. I can't remember. I know I shared with you guys about my cousin and just how impressed I was with her kids, and like because they run a pretty strict household. But the fact that the kids accept all of it, and to a point where they say that they would raise their kids the same way, even though they have these strict, because the parents, they explain the logic behind why. It's not just like, you can only use your iPad for 1 hour because dad told you so. So, well, no, they explain the addictive properties to it and why. And so because of that, I think that's what makes it so powerful and effective, because it isn't just because dad told you so. It's like and I think sometimes we underestimate how smart kids really are. Even like you're saying stuff about your son. I bet you money. I've already seen this with Max, where like I'm like, he remembered that. Yeah. Like I said that he remembered mitochondria.
Little elephants.
Yeah. No, it's amazing sometimes the stuff that they choose to latch onto and hold on to, no matter how high of a level you may think it is. And
I think the big key, you said it, Justin, is the expression of emotion behind what you're doing can oftentimes really screw you up, right? Like the anger, like you could say, hey, listen.
It really sets you back.
Totally, right? You could say like, hey, listen, you did that, therefore you lose this privilege. Or you could scream it and yell it and try to impose like, fear and dominance in that particular way, which might get them to behave. It also might get them to resent you. Yeah. And then if anything, you tend to, you tend to look. I mean, I know there's appropriate times for that, but when I'm calm, I make way better decisions than when I'm not calm.
100%.
Especially when you're dealing with teenagers. Especially when you're dealing with, because teenagers are unbridled emotions. They're learning how to like figure out like all this shit that's coming up. Well, and like my daughter, I have a teenage daughter, and if she starts to become dysregulated, waste of time for me to sit down and try and get her to understand. It's a complete waste of time. Like all I'm doing is talking to dysregulation. So the best thing to do is be like, I'll come back. Yeah. I'll come back. Take and then space. I'm not gonna lower my boundary. It's gonna stay the way it is. I'm gonna stay calm. And then I'm gonna come back to you when things calm down a little bit. And then typically they're reasonable. But when they're all like, you could try speaking reason to them all you want.
It's such a weird, because I didn't anticipate with him, because he's so cool and chill. He's kind of like Max in that regard, where he's just like very, easygoing and very much not like a confrontational kind of character. Yeah. So to see him come at me, it's like it kind of throws me off a little bit sometimes. But
bro, he went from having a little kid's testosterone to having testosterone that is going to be higher than it's ever going to be in the rest of his life.
Yeah.
In like overnight, essentially.
Yeah, it's just
that's going to change everything.
I mean, I could see though how that throws you off though, because that's why I was asking both of you guys about like these phases they go through. So it's like, you know, that's also what kind of keeps me reminded, like this could just be this phase in his life where these things intimidate him. He's scared. He's this and like that. And I should really, instead of hyper focusing on the things that maybe I am different in or challenged in, and actually focus on the things that I love and adore about this phase. Right. And so that's kind of what's helped me through the process of, you know, these things that I'm like, oh, inside it kills me. But it's like, you know what, though? I also love this about him. And I may never, maybe I don't have that in 5 or 10 years. Maybe he's not like that kid anymore where maybe he wouldn't enjoy a 6-hour drive with his dad. And it's like,
you know what, the most important thing, I always get reminded of this. Little kids are easy at doing this. Older kids, not so much because they don't necessarily vocalize this. But like with my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old, they'll copy me often. So like when I get up, so I'm the one that wakes up first in the morning. Typically Jessica will have some time upstairs, and usually my son will wake up, sometimes my daughter. And so they'll see me getting ready, right? They'll see me, you know, take my supplements. They'll see me, you know, wash my face or whatever. And so they copy me now. They'll come over and like, oh, you know, and so I'll give them like a little gummy, supplement or something like that. Or they'll come in and then now they're trying to use my Caldera. What are you doing, buddy? Oh, this is, I get my face ready like you do. Now, what it just reminds me of is what you do is way more impactful than what you say. Oh, yeah. Period. End of story. Yeah, it's like you want to be, so he's like, tell your kid to get off their electronics. If you're on your electronics all the time and you tell them to get off, you're waste of time. You know, it's like it's what they see.
100%.
Yeah.
But
but I did put it on. I did give them. They're he's 3 years old. So he doesn't need help with his skin.
It's all natural. It's all natural.
It's natural and it is healthy.
My buddy walked in on me putting my Caldera on my face, and he was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, "This is why I'm handsome." I said, "This is one of the partners that we work with. I've told you about them before." He's like, "You don't really believe that stuff, like face cream stuff like that, works for you?" I said, "Yes, dude, of course." I said, "I wouldn't be doing this right now." He's like, "I'm not getting paid to do this in the corner right now." I'm like, "I actually use it on a daily basis, and I swear by it because it's amazing." I said, "But trust me," I said, "I was just."
Did you have him try it?
I said, "Yeah." I said, "I gave him my bottle." I said, "Keep it." I said, "Literally, I said, I want you to do it for a week. Just do it for a week and use it." Because I said I was just as skeptical too. I remember when the brand reached out to us, and I'm like, come on." Yeah. None of us dudes are like face cream.
I was putting it on my feet because, dude, I've been so dried out and cracked, from like all these high elevation places I've been visiting.
You
lately.
do it before and after with your feet.
I should have, dude. No, I'm not gonna put that on the internet. I don't want to do that to people. No, we're not going to do that. Just trust me.
We'll get a letter from Caldera. Can you not use your feet to sell our product?
Hey, speaking of selling, something back to the Universal talk that I thought was really interesting that I didn't know. So they have this thing similar to Disneyland where they have the Fast Pass, that you can pay for. The difference is it's a moving target. And so they change it based off of demand. So it's not a consistent price, and they only sell so many of them. So once it's sold out. So
smart.
It's brilliant capitalism. I'm like, it was frustrating hearing it, going like, what, $200 extra per ticket to have the Fast Pass? We looked online, it says $150. Oh no, sir, it fluctuates. It depends on the demand for it, and then we were like, then we thought about it, and then we're like, F it, let's do it, and then we went back to go do it. And it was like sold out. We're like, yeah. But I didn't know that any of those parks did that. I thought that was pretty smart to do that. And because I was thinking while I'm waiting in line one time, I'm like, I would pay top dollar to be, because I see the people walking by. I'm like, oh, what is that? And then I go check it out. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Dude, I got to bring something up off topic here. I want to ask you guys about, because I'm not at all into college sports or anything, but I did see a headline. So the NCAA has removed cannabis off of its.
Did they do that officially?
They did.
Oh, they did do it. I knew that it was on the docket. I didn't know if they officially.
So now that's no longer something that'll get you banned.
It's kind of funny because it's like it's never been a performance enhancement.
No.
It's always been a funny one to me too to be
It's just like, what's the
on
point?
there. Like,
Now people are. I see people writing about it, and they're saying things like they're promoting drug use. I'm like, are they? No, they're
I
not.
don't
Like,
think, yeah.
I don't think the NCAA is there to. I think really the idea behind the banned list is we want you to not use performance enhancing drugs,
Right.
or break laws or something like that. Although cannabis federally is still illegal. Now I think I know why they took it off personally. I think it's because if they tested athletes, they'd find all of
They'd
them.
get it everywhere.
Yeah,
they're
so
in
they're like, we
college.
got to take this off the list.
go back down to
It's like if they tested for alcohol in your system.
Yeah.
You know, it's like give me
Everybody's
a break.
gonna
Yeah,
test
everybody's
positive.
gonna get
Oh,
popped.
interesting though. So individual universities have their own drug policies that apply during the regular season.
Right.
Okay.
But NCAA took the rules. So NCAA postseason and during the championship games,
Yeah.
they have at least listed off of that.
Now
But
let me ask you: do you guys know if they test? How often does the NCAA test? I don't think they do, right? Because that's expensive.
Okay, so yeah, and this is one of those things that like I went through like when I was at San Jose State and I had I started going to school there from high school, and I was very much like I want to make it into the NFL, and I'm going to get there, and then going there and seeing like all these guys like just out in the open taking steroids.
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, it was everywhere. And then it's like everybody knew the schedule of when the person was going to come to test. And they cycle through, and it was such a joke, like
Oh, wow.
complete joke. And so I don't know if they've done much altering to that, but really it's like they're going to give them a heads up.
I got to
Or
say,
make an example.
don't you
of like
remember
a few.
when we had what's his name on the show? It's slipping in my name. His name's slipping me right now. And he talked all about he wouldn't say names because he has clients who pay him to set up their testosterone cycles around all their testing and stuff like that. And
I mean, in fact, that's why he got paid,
right?
was to know how to get around those.
Yeah. So I
got to say this: if you have to take anabolic steroids just to be able to compete in college, you're not going to make it to the NFL.
You're not going to do it.
No.
That's the thing. That was very obvious.
If you need it to be able to be in college sports, then you'll never make the pros, because at that level, there's no magic or anything that's going to get you that next level.
No, there's just genetic
Because the
freaks
difference
everywhere.
Yes.
It's not. It doesn't.
And we
matter.
know athletes that were natural as pros, and you just like there's no amount of drugs you could take that'll get you as good as those.
No.
Yeah.
I have like 3 friends, and they were all like that were all natural. Now, granted, they weren't Hall of Fame guys, but they played 8 years in the league, and were good. You know what I'm saying? Good enough to play, and play on good teams, and they were all natural. So it's like the genetics play so much more of a role at that level. Like
at that level, it's that
those
and
guys,
hard work. I mean,
those guys are crushing people regardless of if they were on. And anabolics just enhances it, makes it crazier. But they would have been there probably regardless. Regardless of speaking of the cannabis, you brought that up. I had on my notes last week. Was it Sacramento? Is it on there? The notes still? Sacramento Fair? Was it?
Yeah, it's there. I see it.
Yeah, you see it?
I see Sacramento
Sacramento Fair. So it was Sacramento. So Sacramento Fair basically allow people to be smoking outside at the fairgrounds. So they
like in a designated section.
No, I
at
think
least?
just openly.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, look it up. Look up.
You can't
kids.
smoke cigarettes.
Look up
but you can
Sacramento
smoke weed
Fair
everywhere.
cannabis use
See, I
or
got
smoking.
a problem with that.
So do I.
So I don't know. There might be section
Because then you got to smell
off.
secondhand smoke when you have your kids and stuff. It should be sectioned off if that's the case.
Designated areas.
So there is
good.
designated
Good.
areas.
All right. Well,
So
that
it's-
makes it better.
But interesting though that like
Yeah, because if you're smoking weed next to my kids,
Yeah,
there's
like,
a problem.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think I just wouldn't even take my kid there if I knew that, right? Like, that was even a possibility that someone could be blowing in his face, anything,
No.
So, but interesting though, right? That we're moving in this direction now, where it's gonna. I mean, we're a very short time away from it being like.
Most concerts I went to was like that anyways, before it was even legal. So, it's like it just immediately turned into a reggae concert.
It was
even though it was metal.
It's so different now, because now even when we were at the lake for 4th of July, I mean, you smell people smoking it, here and there or whatever. Man, when we grew up in the 90s, you were terrified. If you lit up a joint, you were like looking around. Oh shit, you know.
I mean, not even that long ago. I mean, I told you guys know my story and what I came from before here in the cannabis industry, and it was still so taboo. Like one of the main things that made me leave was everybody in my family and friends made me feel like my success was because I was a drug dealer, not because of anything that I did the business.
I wonder what they say now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't a fluke. That's what you should say to them.
No.
Isn't that weird? Hey, I'm successful again?
Yeah. Weird.
No, now they all start podcasts. They're like, this dummy did the podcast. I could do this. I could do this thing too. It was like,
how many? Okay, yeah. Like in my group of friends and like people I've known, like people either became a personal trainer or they tried to start a podcast. Like it's like a follow up.
Oh man,
it's interesting.
If these idiots can do it,
that's
like this guy.
I can count on right away. I can count at least 5 friends / family members that are all doing podcasts or started podcasts too now. You know. So, and yeah, I think it's totally that.
That's hilarious.
This drug dealing idiot, he figured out how to do this and then that. I could do this, you know?
This asshole could do
it. Yeah, it's exactly.
Hey, it means you're doing it right.
Make
it look easy.
I guess that's, I had to remind myself that, right?
Like, he looks chill and he's got all this time with his family and relaxed. It must be easy.
Yeah, they just talk, dude.
Well, I know recently there was an idea thrown at us in this business for us to set the trainers together in here and let them just like start up a conversation thinking that it would be useful content. No. And I was just like, that is such a terrible idea. You put 4 random strangers with mics and then give them a topic and just think it's going to like, I mean,
get this light just right in their eyes.
When you think about it, that is exactly because, call it serendipitous, call it God, call it luck, call it whatever you want to call it. But when we all got in that room together,
it was God.
11 years ago. I know for sure you're convinced of that now. I agree with you.
The universe is God.
I agree with you.
It wasn't crystals.
So, all got together. There was, instant conversation and chemistry. There was no doubt of that.
Above and beyond what you would explain as normal.
Yeah. I mean, we went on for like 4 hours without like taking a break.
No.
And and Katrina getting to observe that like a fly on the wall and then to be like, that was such an interesting thing to watch, like it was a thing. It was just like, no, it's just 4 dudes getting together and meet each other for the first time. But there was something special there. I just think that's so right. I always, when I talk about this business and this partnership, it's funny because I always get asked questions about partners and podcasts with other people. And I'm like, I would if I didn't have you guys, I would never, or if we like say,
no, it's a terrible idea.
I would never.
I'd be doing something totally different.
I would 100%. Never.
I wouldn't even that. It would be like, why would you want 3 business partners with yourself? Yeah. It's like terrible. Yeah, it's hard enough with 1 business partner.
Yeah.
Let alone 3
so
others.
It really is very unique the way it's all. And I would never try and encourage someone to try and replicate it because I just think that that's what made it so special is it just worked. And it was that way from.
No, what I always feel comfortable teaching is trainers and coaches, how to train people and coach people, because I feel like you take out the serendipity, that's where our expertise was built. Speaking of which,
that's what made us.
Have we sold out of the NCI?
I think I text Katrina this morning when we got in. I know we have tickets left. How many? I don't know.
MindPumpNCI.com. So here's what's happening. September 12th, 13th. And 14th, I believe.
10 people only.
We're going to be meeting with a very small group. So you're going to be meeting with us and Jason Phillips, who heads NCI. And we are going to we're going to go in and coach you.
Break you.
We're going to break you. So we're going to coach you on your business. We're going to break everything down. And it's almost one-on-one if you think about it, right? And really coach you and build your business and help you build your business and become more successful. So,
it is very one-on-one the way Jason structures it because it's split up in 2 days, 2 groups of 5, and basically the whole day is dedicated to going through each individual's business. And why I think that he's figured out this hack of like prepping or actually doing it with 4 or 5 other people with you in their room is because you also get some benefit from hearing their coaching too. So not only do you get your own individual coaching on your business and helping you,
It's very relatable.
But then, also getting to see other people in a similar journey with other challenges is really powerful and useful, even if that may not have been a pressing question for you. And so really excited to do this. And I'm really excited too, because Jason's been doing these for several years now and had tremendous success with the people that have gone through them already. But trying to make a mind pump experience out of it too is what I think I'm really excited about. Is like, can we make this into like a really cool weekend for people in addition to getting tremendous value? And so the idea of partnering with Jason on it, bringing the Truckee house involved, bringing the chef to the house and the bar and doing like a whole, and then golfing or working out with us, trying to make a whole experience out of the weekend. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Our experience so far with these kind of private things that we've done has been really good. I know, Doug was probably the most skeptical at the beginning. Like, I don't know about letting these people into our personal lives, like all worried, like what they're going to be like. But I feel like we have pretty cool people that we've attracted to these groups. And I've had a great experience with these kind of intimate groups.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Are you maybe the movie Misery? Is that scary? Is that what it is? Where
Misery. I'm your number one fan.
I'm your number one fan. That scene where she smashes his ankles.
Oh, classic.
Oh, it's the worst.
Classic.
Yes. Anyway, it's mindpumpnci.com. So hopefully there's some left. The strength of your foot impacts all of your lifts. Now, most shoes actually make your feet weaker. The heel is raised. The toe box is cramped, causing your feet to move and be in unnatural ways. Then they actually shape themselves that way. Well, anyway, there's a company called Zero Shoes, wider foot-shaped toe boxes so your toes can move and ground you. They have a zero drop, so the heel is low, so your feet are nice and flat for exercises like deadlifts and squats. This is a great shoe to lift weights in, but they have shoes for hiking and other purposes. These are healthy shoes. They promote healthy, strong feet, which help you get better posture and better movement all around. Anyway, go check them out. You go to zeroshoes.com/mindpump. You can enter to win 1 of 5 free pairs of Zero Shoes. All right, here comes the show.
Our next caller is Chloe from Canada.
Hi, Chloe.
Hey, Chloe, how you doing?
Can we help you?
Hello.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, great.
What's going on?
Awesome. Okay. I'll just hop into it, I guess. So I have a few questions about the Muscle Mommy program. I guess I am into week 2 of phase 2 now. I have quite a few questions. Do you want me to read them all off, or do you want to just go one by one?
We can go one by one. What's the first one?
Sure.
Beauty. Okay. The first one is, what is your recommended way to prime or warm up for the workouts?
Yeah, that's going to be individual based off of what you need to work on specifically. Do you have MAPS Prime?
I don't know.
So that would be the program that would allow you to do an assessment and then identify what priming movements you need to do for yourself. Now, generally speaking, so that's more specific, and that's the superior way to do it. But generally speaking, a set or 2 of the exercise you're about to do done with lightweight and good form would be a general way to prime. So if the exercise says, do hip thrusts, then 1 or 2 light sets of hip thrusts would be a way to prime. But that's suboptimal. Optimal would be identifying your movement pattern issues and what you need to prime, and then doing the priming movements that are specific to you.
Yeah, Chloe, we'll send you, since we're on the phone with you, we're going to send you MAPS Prime. So because what Sal just recommended is like the really generic way. This is the reason why we created Prime, was because what you'll find is everybody has different issues and limiting factors to performing an exercise with perfect form and technique. And so if you're about to get into, let's say, a bench press, for example, common issues are people have these forward rounded shoulders and forward head. So in that program, Prime, we teach you specific movements and exercises to help correct that, to put you in a more optimal position before you do an exercise. And the way the program MAPS Prime works is we broke the body up into 3 zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And basically what we're doing is we're looking at the upper half of your body, then your torso, and then your lower half of your body. And in the test, it's literally pass or fail. Either you can do the movement perfect or you can't. Most people fail most of those tests. And then from there, it points you in the direction of these priming movements are ideal for your body.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if we weren't going to give you the program, and for everybody else that's kind of listening to this, that doesn't have the program, besides what Sal said too, you could just go through the tests, and we have that at mapsprimewebinar.com, and so I just go through with Doug actually, upper body tests, and we section it out. So there's 3 different movements in there that we specialize in to make sure we kind of cover the bases.
But we'll send it to you so you'll know exactly what to do for yourself.
Okay, awesome. And I guess a question kind of as part of that, do you recommend, like, is it priming just at the beginning of the workout? Or say if I'm doing like those bigger lifts, like for example, if it's like, deadlift and then you're doing a hip thrust after or something like that, would you prime before both times or just kind of at the beginning?
No, at the beginning. Yeah, at the very beginning. Yeah, so whatever you prime, that priming effect, for lack of a better term, will stick with you for a good hour or 2. So studies will show that when you do a quote unquote warm up, that your body is quote unquote warmed up for about an hour or so. So you just do it in the beginning. Yeah, you just do it in the very unless there's like a real problem exercise, like you get into the 3rd exercise and that one just hurts every time. You're like, I can't do it right. Then you might want to try some more priming beforehand.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. That totally answers that question. Okay. And then, so the next one is the trigger sessions. I am like a D student in doing the trigger sessions consistently. How, can you give me a recommendation for getting those in?
I personally start with, so I know we recommend multiple times a day, right? And the first, I start a client out with pairing it with something that I know for sure they're going to do at least one time a day. And then I try and build on that. For example, I always found for myself personally, it was a really easy thing for me to do, right before bed. So I had my it's only 10, 15 minutes. You're not supposed to sweat. It's not supposed to be intense. You're just doing these light trigger sessions. So I like to, right before my bed routine, that's something I do. Or right after you eat lunch, you do. So try and pair it with something else you already do could become part of you brush your teeth and then you do a trigger session. So find something in your day that you already religiously do and try and attach that 8 to 10 minute trigger session to that. The studies show that
it's a habit stacking.
You're more likely to stay with that and be consistent with that, and don't overcommit. So if if you gave yourself a D and being consistent with it, well, just start with one a day and be consistent with that, and then as you build that as a routine, try and add a second and then a third, and that's how I would probably recommend you do it.
The second most common way is to set an alarm. So I've had people just do that. Well, they'll have a long-standing alarm on their phone that goes off that says trigger session, and then they'll go do it. But those seem to be the 2 most effective ways.
Yeah, I think too, do you have rubber bands easily accessible and okay. So if you have that in very specific spot of your house that that every time you walk by it, you just kind of grab it and you do one of the exercises, that kind of a thing. I do the same thing with a pull-up bar in one of the doors, and I just go by and I'll hit some reps as I go. So, anything that you can do to just kind of create a pattern.
Make it subconscious.
Yeah. Right. One of the things I did, like Justin, is this was at my other house. I used to hang it up in my living room where my TV is at, in this closet door, and I kind of made this rule with myself. If I'm going to sit down and watch a show or TV, I do a trigger session first. And so it became this, at one point in the day.
Kind of earn it that way, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was okay, I'm going to sit down and watch TV and relax for a little bit. Oh, wait, before I do that, I'm going to do a trigger session. And so if you can create some sort of habit, connecting it to a habit already, I think that is probably one of the best ways to do it.
Beauty. Awesome. Okay, the next question, I guess, would be for phase 2, because we're going into 15 reps of each set. What is my focus? Am I dropping the weight and just kind of just focusing on squeezing the muscle? Are we pushing a little bit more endurance? What is my focus for doing those movements?
The focus through the whole program or through any strength training program is the same. The goal is to hit the prescribed reps with a high degree of intensity. You're not going to failure, but you're getting close with good technique and form. So it's going to feel more like endurance for 15 reps than it would, let's say, for 5. But it's always about good form and technique and a high degree of intensity, regardless of the rep range that's recommended.
And what that looks like more often than not when choosing the weight is you've now moved away from a low rep range that you could probably move, a lot heavier weight. So you're going to have to probably
You're going to have to go lighter.
You're going to have to go a little bit lighter, but you still want, reps 13, 14, 15 to be really challenging, but not so challenging that your form breaks down. That's kind of how I would explain to a client is like, hey, I want you to be able to perform 15 good reps, but I do want reps 13, 14, 15. You're struggling, but you still can hold good technique and form.
Okay. Beauty. Perfect. Last question would be, so with the programming, sometimes I work out at Planet Fitness because it's just so accessible to me. And sometimes that would be in the evening. Do you want, how important is it doing it exactly in order versus if I need to kind of switch around the order? Can I? And if so, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so let's go list. Let me list the importance or priority of the things that you are asking for. Priority number 1 is that you do the workout. Priority 2 is that you follow the workout as it's programmed. In other words, if it's not possible to follow the program as it's laid out, then its second best is to go ahead and go to the next exercise and then go back to the exercise when it's available. So in other words, the programming is important, but it's not more important than the work than just doing the workout. So don't skip it, but you can reorganize it if you need to, but it is written in order, and that is part of the programming for sure.
And most of it, you're going to find that it starts with the big compound lift that's the most fatiguing. And so if, let's say, the squat rack isn't available for you, but you have a bench and that's within the workout, go to the other compound lift and I would kind of start with that in terms of because you want to make sure that you have your best performance in those exercises versus the other ones.
Especially if this is an area of focus for you, right? So you've all probably heard us talk too on the show, where there's examples where we might start with a different exercise than what we traditionally put in MAPS programs. If you have an area that you're really trying to work or develop, whether that be your glutes or your shoulders or your back, the exercise you start with, you're going to get the most out of. And so keep that in mind. If you have areas on your body that you care more about or you're trying to focus more on, keeping that towards the beginning of your workout is going to be advantageous.
How long have you been going to a gym, a structured commercial gym?
I trained Strong Woman 3 years ago, and then I took a year off. So I've only been really working in the Planet Fitness, not in a semi-private gym, for about a year. Ish, not even now.
Okay, so your experience. I tell people this all the time. It's gym etiquette to let people jump in on a set. So if somebody's using an exercise,
can I work in?
Hey, can I work in? Can I jump in with you? And then you're responsible for racking and unracking, and it's not a problem. I know a lot of people sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want to, say that, but you'll almost never have anybody say no. And if they do say no, then fine. Then move on. But it's gym etiquette. You're like, you can jump in. But then the person jumping is responsible for resetting it, the way that the other person was using it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at Planet Fitness right now, it's high school is off. So it's groups of 16-year-olds. And I'm man, you guys are intimidating. I'm used to asking, but it's whoa.
A lot of broccoli.
I was going to say something when Sal said that. I was like, she is at Planet Fitness and there is a different
I don't think
demographic of people.
Yeah, if you go up to a bunch of teenage boys and ask to jump in, they might be like, oh.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably shut down.
Yeah.
Free. So,
but it's
jump in and add weight. That'll get them shut up real quick.
Many times I have reorganized the order. It's not the end of the world doing that, but I definitely when I have a focus, let's say I'm really trying to improve my squat, I definitely don't want to go do, bench press and something else and then go to do that. I want that to be first. So many times if I have the flexibility to where I can wait, I'll wait to go start that movement I really want to get the biggest bang from. Other times when I know I'm going to the gym and I'm just kind of working out, I don't have a very specific goal that I'm trying to achieve, not a big deal. But when you are trying to get something out of that movement, like a squat, like a deadlift, like an overhead press, and you're really kind of focusing on that, you do want to prioritize it early, if not first in the workout.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I super appreciate you answering my questions. And I'll also let you know that, like, in my life, God comes first, and like your guys' word comes second. You guys are amazing. It's been a great 4 years listening to you guys.
I'm gonna clip
Man,
that.
we're gonna have to live up to that.
We're gonna send.
If you ask my boyfriend, he hates you. All I talk about is Mind Pump.
What the Mind Pump boys said.
Thank you.
We're gonna send you over Matt's
we'll
Prime
grow
too.
on him.
We got you.
Yeah.
I gotta get him listening to you guys. I've been telling him to start weight training. He's a shift worker and he works manual labor. And I'm like, babe, please. And I've been like saying so much to him because his body's breaking down at 26. And I'm working hard to get him as a Mind
He's just
Pump
playing hard to get.
He is. He's stubborn.
Put shirtless pictures of Sal up on your refrigerator.
That'll totally
that tends to
work.
work.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's
he
what
won't get
finally
mad at
won
all.
me over. So
Yeah. Thanks,
There we
Chloe.
go. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Chloe, we'll
Appreciate
send
you.
that over to you.
You have a great one.
You too.
You know, I think it would be valuable to talk a little bit about gym etiquette for people, because that's true. People do feel when they see someone on a machine, they think, okay, I'm not going to say anything. But you either A, ask to jump in, which people typically say, okay, or you ask, how many sets do you have left? They'll tell you, and then you just simply say, no problem, take your time, and then you just post up next to them.
Yeah.
And then that tends to get them to move a little bit. You let them know, take your time, and then you'll use it next. But sitting from a distance and watching, that can make things take a long time.
I know it's so funny. It seems obvious, but it isn't unless you actually know that.
That's right.
It's definitely not obvious.
No,
and
it's not.
I think in a that type of a commercial gym, it's
Especially for a woman, right?
You're
'Cause it
more
tends-
likely
yeah.
to probably run into a challenge with that. You're in a powerlifting gym. You're in a private gym. Like, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
But most people get that. You're in a big commercial gym like that at a time when like young kids are coming in. I feel for her there.
They're deadlifting with shrimp form.
So
and,
I have a membership at Fitness 19, and that was like the first commercial gym I came back to. And when the times that I was training was the exact same time where it's like all
Bunch of kids.
Yeah, and they do not have gym etiquette. Not for the most part. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule of some kid that was trained well or has a dad or mom who has taught them. But these high school kids are on their phones and set their bags down in front of it and are joking around. And they all
Snapchatting
because there's so many of them. It's like literally like the high school campus moved into the gym, and so there's a lot of like bullshit.
Yeah, and we got to also respect that. We're big guys, so we can kind of move in and say something.
Yeah, she's
Sure.
I've
done that before too. I've had one time there was like four kids, like they were, I don't know, 17, 16-year-olds. Yeah. And I walked up to them. I said, "Are you using this? Or are you guys just going to sit down and talk?" And then the looks on their faces were like, "Okay, we're done."
We're going to go now.
Yeah. So I feel for her in that situation for sure.
Our next caller is Morgan from Nebraska.
Morgan,
How you doing, Morgan?
What's
Good
happening?
morning.
How are you guys?
We're good.
Very good. How you doing?
How can we help you?
Yeah.
Well, I am. Oh, thank you. Everybody always laughs because they start doing the thank you, but you guys really have been a big part of my fitness journey these last couple, even just months. I started just a couple months ago, so it's been fun to listen to you guys. So I'm 5'6". I'm a college runner, which I know is kind of a cringy thing to say, but I run cross country in college, but I've always been into strength training as well. And I've finally gotten to the point where I feel like the outside of my legs, and my quads specifically, are finally getting a little bit of definition. But the inside of my legs, like, it seems like I can't ever feel any sort of growth or any sort of like stretch on the inside part of my quads. I have longer femurs, and so I know I've done a lot of work on my squat form to try to make sure I'm using my quads because I'm naturally like hamstring dominant. So I guess just like leg extensions, all of that stuff, I feel it more on the outside. And I'm just wondering if there's something I can do to kind of grow the inside of my legs and get more definition there, obviously.
Yeah, no, good, very good question. So, by the way, there's nothing cringy about being a college runner. That's awesome. Yeah. So, and now, what are the distances that you run? Give me an idea of what your practice.
And are you still doing that, or are you done doing that?
This is my senior year, so I'm still doing it as of now. In cross country, we do a 6K, which is just between 3 and 4 miles. I did run a marathon in May, and so I came off of marathon training, but I usually I'm running about 30 to 40 miles a week.
Okay. Now, the reason why I'm asking this question is because when it comes to building muscle, it's going to be a bit counter to the kind of training that you're currently doing. Okay. And I'm going to say this, you sent some pictures in.
You look great.
You have great muscle for the kind of training that you do.
Yes.
I'm surprised you're not a sprinter or a strength athlete, because I think if you stopped running and did strength training,
you're going to look awesome.
You're going to build some serious
You're going to get your legs
muscle.
you want.
Were your parents athletes? Because you look like you have some muscle building genetics on you.
They were, my dad was a baseball player. My mom was a runner in high school. She didn't do anything in college, but I actually played softball most of my college career. And then I just switched to cross country kind of because of the team part of it. So I've been in the softball environment most of my life.
Yeah, because you look like you can build muscle pretty well.
Can I talk to you like if you were my little sister? If you were my little sister, this is what I would say to you. I'd say, continue doing what you're doing. You're kicking ass. Go kick ass at your sport. You got a year left of doing that. And trust me, you've got the physique to build these quads that you want to build.
Yeah, that's the key.
You're going to. Like this is not you're missing a exercise, that you should be doing or manipulated a certain way. It's what Sal said. You're doing a sport that is not ideal for trying to build big muscular legs, and so it's kind of counter. Mm-hmm. And the minute you back off of that and you start to dedicate your training and diet to actually building muscle, you're going to, and you're going to get the legs that you want. And so right now, I'd say you're at a phase in your life right now where you have a sport you're good at and you love doing, and so enjoy it and continue kind of doing what you're doing. And then when you're ready to retire from running that much, and we want to really start to sculpt the body, you've got genetics to compete. I mean, you definitely.
Yeah, I would say, to be more specific, running 30 to 40 miles a week leaves very little room for any kind of like muscle building, strength training.
Yeah, that signal's not going to be there.
The strength training that I would do with someone like you, because I've trained a lot of runners, and 30 to 40 miles is about what my runners would do. Anywhere between 20 to 50, I would say, is what they would do. So, and you're in the kind of higher end of that. And I would have them strength train once a week. We would do like 3 exercises, compound lifts, and really it was to support their running. It was to maintain mobility, to prevent injury, to give them a little bit of strength. But you're not going to build a lot while running that much. Just not going to happen because it's too much all at once. Now, the reason why you still have muscle on your body is because you got really good muscle building genetics, and some people can do that. If I ran 30 to 40 miles, I would not have very much muscle on my body at all, but you seem to be able to maintain some of it. Once that you cut the running down, let's say you go 30, 40 down to 10 miles or 5 miles a week even, and then you just focused on strength training, you would see a radical transformation in your physique. Radical. But right now, while you're doing the running, what you probably want to do is maybe 1 day a week of strength training, maybe 3 compound lifts, 3 sets each. Not super intense, but just go through the movement and see if you can get stronger week by week. Make sure you feed your body appropriately and properly, and then make sure you get really good sleep and rest, and then just stay at your sport.
Yeah, and I know, Morgan, that's probably not what you want to hear. I'm sure that you wanted to hear like what exercise can I give you. But I would just remind you that, I mean, you're probably for a 20-year-old runner that runs that much, one of the more muscular looking runners I've ever seen. So you've done whatever you're doing a good job at that, and you probably do have some great genetics. And I would just say, like, hey, let's finish this year out on your sport, have a great year. Let's put our energy towards that. And then, hey, if you really want to get crazy and body build and sculpt and build I mean, you got it. You can do it.
So your workout with me, I'll give you a general idea of what the workouts would look like with my runners. Typically, it would look like some kind of a hip extension. Mm-hmm. So either a hip thrust or a deadlift of some variation. We would do some type of a split stance exercise, like a lunge or a Bulgarian split stance squat, or even something that's single leg. And then we would do some kind of a core exercise. Now for upper body, I would sometimes throw in correctional exercise, and it typically looked like something that would pull the shoulders back to give them better posture while running. And that's typically what it would look like. And I would throw in other exercises here and there, but I wouldn't do like this big full body workout, because every time I did that, it would just take away from the performance. It was just too much. 30 to 40 miles a week is a lot on the body, and you start adding lots of strength training to that, and then just you decrease everything.
Yeah, and I mean, and this isn't huge, but at the same time too, it's going to help your knee track a bit more effectively to add in lateral movement and get your lateral lunges, your Cossack squat, just to throw that in there, even as a mobility day where we're just doing like active recovery and we're just making
Like
sure
body weight?
Yeah, body weight. Like we're just making sure that everything is tracking and you're in good alignment because you're so fixed in this one plane of motion like constantly. And if you're just training to reinforce that, you're going to run into some issues later with the joints. So if you just add that in as a mobility practice and some rotation in there as well, you're going to really help kind of support what you're doing.
Yeah. Morgan, how's your nutrition? Do you track anything?
Yeah, I was trying to. That's why, like in my question, I sort of try to avoid this, but I am what your normal call is, where they overtrain and they focus on recovery enough. I'm getting better. I had an eating disorder in high school, and I've come a long ways. Put on 20 pounds and gotten better with food. I don't love meat, and so I've never been a meat eater. So I am mostly vegetarian. Which helps because I get a lot of carbs, which fuel my running, but the protein is a lot more. Like I make sure I have a shake every day. I'm still hitting almost 150 grams every day. And but that is definitely something I'm still learning through listening you guys, is not pushing it too far.
Yeah. How are you getting the 150? Like, what is that coming from if you're not eating meat?
So usually I have a shake after my runs in the morning, and then I do like I have beans and a lot of lentils and some rice for lunch, chickpeas and stuff, and then I have peanut butter, which isn't the greatest either, but nuts a lot. And then usually at night, like I do like a big yogurt bowl with Greek yogurt and cottage cheese and mix that all together.
Are you sure you're tracking? Because getting 150 grams of protein with what you said, you would have to eat a lot of the things that you said to hit that. So I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if you hit 100 with that. But I'm going to give you some good news. The way you're eating and training with the amount of muscle you are gifted.
Yeah, you have a bodybuilder physique.
You are gifted with incredible like muscle sculpting genetics. At some point, you're going to tap into that, and you're going to be one of those people that, you work out 3 days a week in the gym, lift, hit your protein targets, and you're just going to look like a statue. So that's remarkable. But I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if you hit 150 with what you said, because like beans, lentils, peanut butter, yogurt, like you have to eat a lot. Yeah. To get, even with the 50-gram protein shake. But I would start tracking and try and hit 120 grams of protein a day, even with your shake. I think that would do.
I mean, Morgan, I would, if you're open to it, I'll put you in the private forum, and then I'd love for you to track a day of eating, like in a Fat Secret app or what's the other one that we
track every day, and that's what mine said.
Oh, okay, okay.
I mean. Into sharing that with you, but I have tracked. That was sort of the start of my eating disorder, but now it's more on a healthy point of view where I'm trying to track protein stuff, and so that's what it says. But I'm not doubting that you guys probably know better.
No. If you're tracking, then that's it. Then it's all good.
So long as you're measuring correctly, right? So as long as you're doing the portion control right and everything like that, then you are. I mean,
you're doing good. We have a program called MAPS Cardio. Now, I wouldn't have you follow the program because you're doing so much running. But in that program, 1 day a week is kind of a traditional strength training workout, and it's a very short one.
See, I was going to ask actually Justin about how he would modify Performance Advanced for her. Is there a way for you, how you see you would modify that?
Yeah, you could bring it down to 1 day a week.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
okay,
I think that's better.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Let's
like
send you a program.
Yeah.
So you have some programming that you can follow. And then with Performance Advanced, what would she do? Pick a workout?
Yeah,
just one workout.
Yeah, just one workout.
Pick one of the strength training workouts.
The other, strength training. And then, and like I said, there's some mobility practices like kind of built into there that you can reinforce, what you're doing to really support you. And I think that's like really important for ankles, knees, hips, everything else. So.
I'm gonna have Doug put you in the private forum too. I'd like to keep an eye on you and hear updates from you as you go through this journey. I think you're doing really good, and you got a really cool muscle building future ahead of you
for sure.
Well, yeah, because like right now I am just doing like a 5-day split, like kind of just the bro split.
On top of your running?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Way too
I
We'll
know.
bring that down. Your
Yeah,
energy will
yeah.
go way up.
I cannot believe how much muscle development you have overtraining like that. That's you got a great bright future ahead of you with some of the stuff. But do the 1 day a week of performance advanced. You're actually going to build muscle.
Yeah.
You're going to build muscle going
For
from a
sure.
5 day split down to that.
It's going to trip you out.
And if you need this, I have to be doing something every day deal. Mobility stuff, like Justin's saying. The body weight, Cossack squats, things like that. Like do work like that to really support your running. And I think you will be more muscular and you'll perform better in your running. You'll get the best of both worlds.
Totally.
But at a 5 day body part split's too much for what you got going on right now. It's not necessary.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And we're going to put you in the forum so we can keep an eye on you, Morgan. I want to hear your update.
Yeah. Give us updates.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys for all that you do.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Right on. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could just every once in a while you get those.
She'd be jacked.
Yeah.
Bro. Jacked.
If I did 5 days
She's
a week,
asking like for a little bit
She's
of
muscular in
more
spite of what she's
I
doing.
mean, how often do you see a cross country runner that looks developed like that?
No.
Yeah, at 20.
No. Well, I
For
knew
sure
it.
the softball, I think, helped. You know,
Yeah, and I knew it too. Two
start
parents that were athletes.
That-
So
yeah.
but she's way overtrained.
Oh, she say she played softball first?
She did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but two parents that were athletes. She's got the genetics for it, and she's doing good in spite of how much she's beating herself up. 30 to 40 miles a week. I've trained so many runners and athletes like that. And
Yeah.
there's very little
very
strength
demanding.
training you could do.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Kyle from Canada.
What's up, Kyle?
What's
How you doing,
happening?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How can we help you?
Okay, so I'd love to say thank you for everything you guys do in your podcast. It's amazing. My question is, so I got a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old at home right now. So quite busy. And the only time I have to work out is about after 7 o'clock or so at night once they get to bed. And I've always heard so much about getting protein in right after your workout or shortly after your workout. What is your guys' thought on that? And if so, would it be okay to take a protein shake at that point, as I don't want to eat kind of a meal around 8:30 at night or so?
Yeah. What's important is that you hit your protein targets
Throughout
for the day.
Yeah.
That's all. So if taking a shake after your workout lets you hit those targets, then do it. If you've already hit your targets, then it doesn't matter. That's a very simple.
The post-workout shake or the post-workout meal, 30-minute anabolic window that you've heard is you're talking about the science that supports that is splitting hair difference. I mean, I competed at the highest level and didn't give a shit about that. So you can build and sculpt an amazing
It
physique.
literally doesn't matter. It only matters if you're going to work out again an hour or two later. So, but the breakfast the next morning does the same job. So it's literally, did you hit your protein targets? No, I didn't. Cool. I'll have a shake. Yes, I did. Then I don't need a shake.
Kyle, you know how I would make this decision if I was you was how does eating at that time affect my
Your
sleep?
sleep. Yes.
That's the most important thing.
If
factor.
if you find that eating post workout at night like that disrupts or you don't get as good a sleep as you do if you were to go to bed on more of an empty stomach, then I would do my best to get my protein intake in before I even work out and eat absolutely nothing after your training and be totally fine. Now, if you feel fine after eating a meal that late at night and you get great sleep still, then I wouldn't make a big deal about it. And I would say, sure, go ahead, eat as late as you want. So as long as you're falling in your macro target, it doesn't matter.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I've been hitting my protein target well before working out anyways. I didn't know, like, the protein shake after was just boosting my protein, but like I was well over. I get 200 to 250 grams a day of protein, and I track that on MyFitnessPal, so it's somewhere close. So I do well more than enough with the protein without the protein shake. I didn't know if I needed the protein after the workout or not, or what.
There's
you're
nothing.
good.
There's
You're
nothing
good.
magical about taking it.
Yeah, you're good. I would go to bed fasted and see how you feel. I
Yep.
think you'll probably sleep better like that.
More sleep is going to do more for you, for sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
You
Right
got
on,
it, man.
Kyle.
Thanks for
Good
calling
question,
in.
man.
Yeah.
See ya.
Looks like he was cutting trees or something down.
Yeah.
Put down his chainsaw.
One of my lumberjack buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
You know, we
he's-
haven't
you gotta
talked
hide
about-
in the back corner of his backyard. It's the only place he could find peace when he
Yeah.
gets like, where the fuck do I take this call?
It's the total dad
One,
move.
one of these days, we're gonna get a dad who calls in. He's on the toilet.
He's in the
you know?
toilet.
Yeah, in the bathroom.
I keep
Hey, guys,
waiting.
Yeah.
I'm calling in right
Guys,
now.
I got a second.
You hear someone.
I want to ask. Yeah.
Daddy.
We haven't talked about that in a while, but we hit that all the time when we first started the podcast. But it was a marketing ploy. It was a way to attach
Protein window. Yeah.
It was a way to attach the protein shake to something that people do when they work out, which is work out, and it increased the usage, and it also made it more necessary because post workout it's convenient. You're not going to cook something. People aren't going to eat a meal at the gym. So it's brilliant marketing. Actually, dramatically increased the sales of protein, and then a lot of people saw results because they needed to eat more protein, not because it had it post-workout.
Well, and you've heard me talk about this. The only time I ever felt value in like getting a shake or getting a meal right after a workout was just when I was bulking and I needed the
You needed
calories.
extra calories.
And so I was trying to find ways like, man, where do I fit in an extra 300-400 calories to hit my calorie intake every day?
That's right.
Oh, you know what? If I pounded a shake right after I lifted, by the time I drove home, showered, then I could eat another meal. And so that's where I saw value in it, not because it was in this 30-minute window to build muscle.
Our next caller is Adriana from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Adriana.
Hello.
How can we help you?
Hi. First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking my question. It's always a lot of fun to get to talk to you guys. You answered a question of mine about 2 years ago. So I am an elite lightweight rower, and I'm coming up on the end of a quadrennial 4-year cycle for the Olympics. Hopefully, I'm about to make my third national team in August. And then post-racing, I have some decisions to make if I'm going to continue to row or not. So this is kind of where my questions come in. If I continue to row, I'm not going to be rowing as a lightweight. I'm instead going to transition into an open weight rower. So for me right now, that means that I've spent 3 years being lightweight and my metabolism has done a great job at adapting to that, which isn't good for going into open weight rowing. So I need to take some time off and really focus on reverse dieting and just getting into a better place calorie wise to be able to support all of the rowing that I do. So the biggest question I have is in terms of like returning to rowing, what would be your suggested time off? I've heard you talk about, people who lift a lot doing just a deload week and that being different from athletes taking time off after a year of their sport.
So the question is, after you're done, after this stint of rowing, how much time should you take off before you get back into whatever you decide?
Yeah.
How much rowing are you doing now? That'll help me with my answer. With your training, I'm sure it's a lot, but let me give us an idea.
So we do 12 sessions on the water, usually 60 to 90 minutes each.
Damn.
Okay.
Damn.
Okay. So what I would do is I would take a
It's
week.
like 10 years off. That'll be good.
No. I would take a week off completely.
Oh God, yeah.
And then I would come back and I would do very light rowing just to continue the mechanics and the technique of the movement. So I would literally get on the water and just cruise and just feel the movement. And that would be what you would do for the day. And I would do that for a good 30 days.
The hardest part about it, and I think the best thing for us to do is actually put you in the private forum so we can actually talk to you through this process. Yeah. Because
it's all psychological.
This is psychological. This is also very dependent on your body's ability to recover, repair, rebuild. Like some people, they can just rebound really fast and reboost their metabolism and build muscle. Other people, their bodies have extremely adapted to the type of training they've done for a long time, and so it's a little bit more challenging and takes longer. That's really hard to tell.
I'm less worried about the physiological recovery than I am with the psychological challenge of training as much as you are now and then not.
Yeah.
That's to be honest, that's why I said I would like you to go in the water and row lightly. Yeah. Because what tends to happen with high level athletes, you
get stir crazy
immediately. You have two speeds, either win or nothing. And so if you go into nothing, everything goes in that direction, including diet and lifestyle. And so what I've experienced with high level athletes is when they stop their sport completely, it's very hard. I want to express this because I want you to appreciate just how challenging this is going to be. It's going to be so challenging to not just go in the opposite direction because you don't have this thing that you've been doing for years, which is, you are training a lot, and a lot of your life, if not all of your life, is dedicated and geared towards this particular endeavor. When you take that away, you're going to be, it's like floating. Like, okay, what do I do now? So if I stop that, then what's my diet look like? What's it look like when I go out? What's it look like when I drink? What's it look like when I'm with my friends? And it's a very tough transition. So I almost never tell people at your level to completely stop, unless there's like some really bad physical damage we have to, is I tell them to practice lightly because it keeps you moving in the right direction. Whereas if I tell you to stop completely, because like right now, for example, with your diet, to keep yourself at your weight class, you're probably having to manage some of your nutrition as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going off everything completely typically translates into going off everything with the diet. It typically goes into, like right now, I'm assuming you manage going out with your friends and stuff. You probably don't go party a lot because you're like, I got to go practice, I got to train or whatever. Now imagine 30 days off. Like, okay, you might be okay for a few days, maybe a week. Like you're laughing because you know what I mean? Like, okay, now we're going to go out. And then to recover and rebound from that, it can be very tough. So it's going to look more like light. Easy.
So the structure is still there. You just really have to like crank the intensity down.
Way down.
And so, I totally agree with that because it's one of the biggest challenges ever is to just kind of do something completely different and then come back into a very rigid, structured system that you've created for yourself. So if you can stay within that system, and consistency still like, I'm practicing, you still have that sort of guideline there. But now you're just more disciplined in the amount of effort you're putting out. And then also you're just cranking up the focus on the nutrition a lot more.
Yeah. I would I would do like a week, 5 days or a week completely off and just rest. And then I would do light rowing most days, real easy. And I would do like 3 days a week of strength training just to give you more of that structure.
Okay.
And then with the reverse diet, structure the reverse diet, meaning plan it out versus just say, I need to eat more. So, you got to step. You have to step stool yourself there. You can't just go off because that is such a big challenge to do. Because, people watching who've never experienced this, like to train at your level, most of your life is dedicated to what you're doing. You live for it. So to turn that off is, psychologically, spiritually, however you want to label it, very challenging to do without going in some crazy opposite direction.
I mean, this is why I want her in the forum.
For sure.
I think you need to be in the forum, and I'd love just to hear from you every couple of weeks. Just check in with us. Let us know how it's going, what you're doing, both mentally, physically. If you check in with us and kind of let us know what you're going through, it'll help us guide you through this process.
Do you have any of our programs?
I have performance and one other one. Something else.
Do you have MAPS Anabolic?
No, I don't.
I would love for you in that month off to just follow MAPS Anabolic during that month off and then just do light rowing and then structure the reverse diet. I think that would be great. You'll come back and you'll feel good, rested, and strong if you decide to row again.
Okay. I think that generally answers everything for anabolic. I know there's a 2 and a 3 day version.
Yes.
Which one would you suggest?
3. I think for you, 3 is going to be fine.
You can handle 3.
Yeah, your capacity for handling.
Especially if you're cranking the intensity down in the practice.
You're fine. Yeah,
you'll be all right. Feel like taking time off.
It's going to be
like recovery.
It's going to be. It's going to be. Yeah, you're going to build strength and muscle, and you're going to feel rested. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I agree. The just taking that back, and I'll have a lot more free time and not knowing what to do with myself for a little bit. So I appreciate like doing a little bit of rowing as well instead of just going like cold turkey off of it. I had one coach liken it to withdrawing from drugs.
Yeah,
for sure.
And just like if you do it badly, I'm going to feel terrible for that month. So
100%. You have to appreciate how much time and dedication you've put towards what you're doing and how much of you has been shaped by it. And to take it away completely, that's going to be so, it'll be so foreign to you and so strange that you may cope by doing a bunch of other shit, which I've seen so many times. So it's
please use the forum in that community. That's what it's there for. And you're not the only athlete that's gone through something like this inside that forum. So use that community to communicate to us and others that process, and that'll really help this. So
and good luck with this. So you're trying to make national team again?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have a race actually this weekend for it. So
good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you for your advice. I'll be sure to pop in the forum and keep everyone updated.
Please. I'd like to. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So for someone listening who doesn't understand that, like I would tell someone overtraining to take time off, no problem.
Right.
But
this is a different
this is very different. Like
it's her identity.
Not only just everything she does is geared towards this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean
when I've seen people like that cut cold turkey, what they end up doing is they end up they go off the rails with diet. They go out and then they drink and then they hang out and they stay up late and it just goes way off. In the other
and she's
direction.
still in that competition. She's still in that world, and so to extract her from that and then throw her right back in, might have a really bad, effect to that. So yeah, it's a different situation because if she was talking about now, like, what do I do that I'm like kind of stepping outside of competing entirely, different conversation.
Yeah. I really hope she uses the private forum. I mean, that community we have other ex-athletes and people have gone through that. And so that's one of the things I think is great.
But this is why we've all talked about this. Some of the hardest clients we've ever trained were ex-high-level athletes because they don't know how to do it any other way. Yeah. It's either all or nothing. Yeah.
And they've had a lot of success with that. So it's really hard. It's not just like because you would think like, man, these athletes are so good to listen to their coach and do these things, but it's tough because now they're hiring you, who's going to teach them something.
And then they have a job and a family.
Yeah, and then you're trying to tell them, hey,
and they have a total skewed idea of what intensity is like and all that stuff. So it's very hard,
big time,
very very hard. Look, if you like the show, check it out. We have a free guide that teaches you how to build and train your core. Some of the best ab and core exercises. You can find it at mindpumpfree.com. You can also find all of us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam is at mindpumpadam.